Welcome back to Will, a Wonderful World. Last time... Give me a moment while I recall last time. Last time, I believe, Jimmy got depressed because Li Wen is now rumored to be fucking the hot new art teacher. Li Wen also got fucked. Literally. But we helped prevent that. Jimmy's problem was that he deleted all of his pictures of Li Wen. And also nearly ingested face cream. But we fixed that. Okay, probably an actual problem. Li Wen's problems were much worse. And I'm glad we fixed that too. We also discovered that, hey, the ending you get will unlock multiple paths. So that's also me wondering if this thing here, this thing that I thought was like an alternate timeline, or just like an extended branch, so Jimmy didn't have something like stuttering here at odd ends, but that makes no sense because then we see this, which is fine. If maybe I've been missing out on some endings by getting all the best ending, like getting all the endings rather. Because it turns out what I thought was an S ending, a good ending, was not the best ending, and we almost got Alicia turned into a circus freak. Literally, that's why the title of this letter is Circus Freak. So we went back, and let me just go ahead and change that. By changing the order of the pills in the kit, we made it so that the one she grabbed was poison. And by grabbing the poison one, we have unlocked this turn of events. The One-Armed Man and the Fury of the Cat. Also at the end of last time, we have a new letter with a new color and a new person. And this is also actually probably Li Wen. So we've got a lot to deal with. And we still haven't been able to save Gyeongmin and Baekya. Let's see who these letters are from first. That sounds like Chinese. Bachelor's pad. Keep out.
如果时间可以重来
And it's Li Wen again. I'm really curious who this person is. But I could take a little break from Li Wen for now. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with Spottie and what happens now that Alicia has poison. Just as a quick recap, she tried to use sleeping pills on the guy who had bought her so she could get away. But the head of the Black Dragon gang came, sniffed the wine, got mad because the Black Dragon gang guy, Mr. Lin, thought Money Jia was trying to drug him instead. Money Jia being the guy who bought Alicia. And so as a result, they killed everyone in the compound. Or they turned Alicia into a circus freak. It didn't end well either way. So let's see what happens now that we've got poison and see why it is that they reacted to Carlos showing a picture of her on his phone. I picked a random bottle from hundreds of bottles of fine wine in an underground cellar and put it on the luxurious short table in front of the old man. He nodded with approval and popped the cork. The bright red liquid was poured into an exquisite-looking wine glass. It was swirling and glistening like flowing ruby. Drink it. Drink it. Drink it. I was standing next to him. Sweat was pouring out of my forehead. As soon as he drank the wine that had just been flavored by me, I would unquestionably become a murderer. I would no longer be a good Catholic. But I had no other choice. I would not let myself be tortured to death in this damn place. I especially would not let myself die without ever seeing Carlos again. He had killed so many innocent people, and I had every reason to send him to his final judgment in front of the Heavenly Father. Manijah's lips had already touched the glass when the housekeeper knocked on the door and informed him that there was a visitor. A man with only one arm was sitting on the sofa in the living room. A couple of tall, muscular bodyguards were standing behind him, ready for instructions from their boss. I had never seen Manijah act more like a spineless, ass-kissing weasel before. He had the most cowardly smile on his face. He seemed determined to lower himself as much as possible in front of that one-armed man. The man yawned and grabbed the bottle of flavored wine on the table. Was he going to drink it? No! He couldn't drink that! I stepped forward. He grabbed the bottle, emptied it with a smile on his face, and forced everything gurgling down. It was already too late. The wine and cyanide mixture went down his throat and into his stomach. He suddenly stood up, with his hand grabbing at the sofa. Then he stumbled and fell. His whole body was twitching on the floor. His hand was now grabbing at his own throat. His mouth was wide open, but he couldn't breathe. The rest of the wine spilled out of the draught bottle, turning the white velvet carpet to a bright red color. The bodyguards were all panicking. Boss Ray? Boss Ray! Mr. Tough, Boss Ray is... What are you waiting for? Call an ambulance! No ambulance could be faster than cyanide, though. Almost immediately, the one-armed man died. Manijah had been sitting on the sofa as if he had been paralyzed. He kept staring at the body with an incredulous look on his face. He didn't move nor say a word until the bodyguards pointed their guns at his head.
It's her! That bitch did it! She poisoned the wine!
They wouldn't let anyone get away at this point. They stuffed Manijah and I into the trunk of a car. A proper greeting would be waiting for us. Well, that ended very differently. I'm surprised that Boss Ray was able to identify the smell of sleeping drugs. But not cyanide. Because doesn't cyanide have that almond smell? Is there wine that smells like almonds? You know, there probably is wine that smells like almonds. But yeah, he just went ahead and chugged the whole bottle down. Man. The other thing that like definitely came to mind was, who the fuck has a fucking white velvet carpet? You don't. Velvet feels nice, but to step on? It almost sounded like the game fell silent. Even though that's like the regular pause in that music. It almost sounded like the game fell silent in agreement with me. So yeah, Alicia's issue now is that she's stuffed in the trunk of a car with a man who has no morals whatsoever, and she's probably gonna die. I feel like this forced everything gurgling down, because we've seen, like, in the past, things that sound kind of weird, are probably lines we're going to change. I feel like this is going to have something to do with what we're changing. So let's take a look at Spottie's story. Well, letter.
My late daddy used to lecture me,
Saying it was dangerous for us to have a predictable daily routine, as the humans might be able to track our activities. I'm sorry, wait, late Daddy? We saved Daddy. Daddy was still alive at the end of the last letter. Spottie? Spottie? Anyway,
it was dangerous for us to have a predictable daily routine, as the humans might be able to track our activities. Despite that, I had developed a habit of visiting the fresh seafood store at the corner of the street every day at noon. Today, as usual, I was tank shopping, tanks in the lobby, pondering the most important question to me. What was for lunch? The fish in the left tank were all too big. The fish in the tank next to my feet looked delicious. But there were only 6 of them left, and it would be too obvious if I stole one. I decided that I would go with the tank on the top right corner. No one would notice if one fish was missing, as there were so many in it. And they had fewer bones, too. Most importantly, they were really fresh. I hunched my back and was about to jump up when my ears picked up a tiny noise behind me. The owner had just come back into the lobby from the back. I quickly hid behind the tank and watched as he opened the roller door, washed the ground in front of the entrance, and sat down to wait for the first order of the day. The owner had blonde hair and blue eyes, which was not common in the city. The other humans called him Alex. We've met Alex. I sneaked up to the door and meowed softly, pretending that I just arrived. Following the principle of not trusting humans, I would never intentionally expose my tracks to humans. Still, sometimes I wondered if I needed to be so careful around these humans, whose every move was always so predictable. Take this guy, for instance. I was sure he would not chase me off.
Hey, here you are. Just wait there for a second.
A couple minutes later, he placed a glass in front of me and poured me half a glass of milk. Oh, it smelled so good. Milk is truly a cat's best friend. But then I realized I wouldn't be getting any fish today. I meowed at the owner with my cutest expression. I want a full glass. He scratched his chin, seemed to understand something, and went to go and grab something from a cabinet. Then he put a few pieces of dried fish in front of me. Ew! After Daddy had passed away, I spent a whole month eating the dried fish that we had saved together. Ever since then, even the sight of dried fish had been enough to make me sick. He pet me on the head. In the end, as a stray cat, I did not have the luxury to be picky about food. Besides, as long as I got along with this human, I could come back often and steal more fresh fish. So I bent my neck and rubbed my head against his hand, pretending to be a docile little kitty, and meowed happily at him. Ow. For the record, I was not actually happy. I was licking the milk with my head down when a strong smell of alcohol almost choked me. Phew! Someone splashed his phlegm into the nearest fish tank. Here comes trouble. A man with black hair stood in front of the shop. A half-empty beer bottle was dangling from his hand, making a splashing sound. His eyes were wandering and unfocused. I recognized him. He lived in the small house that was the highest one in the community in the hills. Both his wife and son had blonde hair and blue eyes. They were much better looking than him.
Damn. We're just gonna burn Park Sang-gun's father, huh?
Although, I hadn't seen him for a while. I heard that the wife had committed suicide.
Wait. So I guess Park Sang-gun didn't kill his dad. Just badly injured him.
The owner's eyes stayed fixated on his newspaper. But his hands were trembling. Well, as far as I knew, the relationship between the owner and the other guy's family had been complicated, to say the least. The black-haired man's blonde wife had often been seen hanging out with the owner in a very intimate way. Whenever the neighbors nearby saw them together, they would gossip about it. The owner was very concerned, but the woman didn't seem to care at all. Once, I heard some humans chatting that the blonde woman had some kind of illness. What kind of illness would make people behave like that? I couldn't understand. The man had always been very nice to his wife. But the wife was a dragon lady. Not only did she have an affair, she would even beat up her husband and her son.
Wait. That's not what we heard from Park Sang-gun. Huh?
Once I even heard her calling her own son a bastard.
Huh?
He looks so much like her. How could he not be her own son? Well, it was terrible. As the days went by, the man began to lose his spirit too. And he wouldn't go anywhere without alcohol. But the one who had suffered the most must be the little boy. He was so pretty and looked nothing like the other kids. So no other children would play with him. Sometimes I would run into the boy, and if I had nothing else to do, I'd play with him for a little while. If he happened to have some change on him, he would even buy me some milk. Compared to his parents, the kid was almost like an angel with catnip. Anyway, it was not a normal family. The man stared at the owner for a while. His mouth squeezed out a tss. Then his eyes turned to me. He crouched down and knocked over the glass. All of the milk spilled out. Some even got on my paws. It wasn't the first time this had happened. But the owner still didn't move at all, as if it had nothing to do with him. Damn you, stupid human! How dare you interrupt my meal? You wait there! I stared at the stone-faced man, waving my fist. I swear I'm going to stuff dead rats into your bed tonight!
Well, that's given us a lot to think about. Because what we heard from Park Sang-gun was that Dad was the abuser. And what we're hearing from Spottie is that Mom's the crazy one here. Like, also, how I guess Mom would definitely know if she gave birth to the kid or not. And so if she didn't give birth to the kid, I can see a mom calling a child a bastard for the literal sense of the word. But damn! Park Sung-gun doesn't deserve any of this. Anyway, Spottie's problem is that he's lost his milk. Also, can we have a moment of silence for Daddy? At some point, Daddy died off screen. We'll never hear from Daddy again. After all that work we put into saving him. But yes, Spottie's problem is that Spottie has lost his milk! And this is a wonderful threat. I swear I am going to stuff dead rats into your bed tonight. I'll have to remember that one. Let's begin. Okay, okay, I feel like... Let's be clear. If we move this over and Alicia forces everything gurgling down, then she's gonna drink the poison and that's not okay. So Alicia's gotta knock over the glass. Meanwhile, if Park Sung-gun's dad forces everything gurgling down, drinks the milk, Spottie's also not gonna be happy. So maybe he grabs... I don't know what the difference is here, because I think Dad had a bottle of alcohol when he showed up. So maybe he just gets drunk in public, is what this means. But let's give this chain of events a go, because we definitely don't want Alicia to be drinking her poisoned wine.
He put down the bottle. He then spoke to me in his drunken voice.
I have won the lottery.
He took another chug of the beer.
I have won 1,000,000 won. I'm not very good at burping on command. I am going to get my son back.
Sure. You won 1,000,000 won.
That's like what? $1,000?
What the cat hell did it have anything to do with me?
What the cat hell?
I lowered my head and continued with my milk, ignoring the boring human.
The exquisite-looking glass was smashed into pieces near my feet. The bodyguards of the one-armed man immediately raised their guns, in case I tried to do something to their boss. The one-armed man himself was just sitting calmly on the sofa, as if he was just waiting for a show. The old man looked at the one-armed man nervously, and looked back at me. He was still confused. Even though it hadn't gone as planned, I couldn't give up now. Go to hell, you dirty old monster! I bent down and picked up the largest piece of glass. But my right hand was somehow blown to pieces right before my very eyes. And then I felt more bullets hitting me in the chest, shoulders, stomach, legs. I could feel the white velvet carpet touching my face. It felt so soft. Slowly, it had turned into a bright red. Oh, that definitely wasn't what we were going for. Okay. Let's bring the bottle back. Maybe what happens is Boss Ray sees her knock over the glass and then feels confident in emptying the bottle. And then the bodyguards won't kill her because she technically did save their boss's life? Maybe? Fingers crossed?
He looked at me. I looked right back at him. We stared at each other with our different sized eyes. Of course, I had the bigger eyes. At a moment like this, I had to overpower him with my fearlessness. However, I quietly moved the milk glass behind me a little. After the standoff had lasted for a while, he stood back up, defeated. He turned away and walked into the nearby lottery place. Look! I won! Stupid human.
The exquisite-looking glass was smashed into pieces near my feet. The one-eyed man stared at me with a smile and emptied everything in the bottle onto the floor. The wine was turning the white velvet carpet to a bright red color. The red kept spreading, almost touching my feet. I wanted to step back, but I was paralyzed by his stare. I couldn't move my body even 1 inch. The old man came around after a little while.
You! Did you poison the wine? You dirty bitch!
To prove his innocence in front of the one-eyed man, he grabbed a fork from the dessert tray and charged towards me in a rage. No. No! You were the one that should be dead! Not me! Not now! I picked up the largest piece of glass from the floor and stabbed at the scumbag. He stabbed the fork into my shoulder, but I had pushed the glass into his heart. The old man made a stifled sound, and he stared at me with death in his eyes. He probably had never imagined that one day he would die at the hands of one of his lab rats. I realized that nothing mattered now. I knew I wouldn't be able to survive today. Heavenly Father, forgive me. I pulled the fork out of my shoulder and stabbed it towards my own neck. I felt it touching the flesh and skin on my neck. I needed to push a little harder to pierce my skin and force it into my artery. My right hand was trembling, and my eyes were watering up. I had to use my left hand to support the other one. You must be alive to enjoy life. There's no need to die in a hurry. The fork was gone from my hand. The one-armed man flung his coat over my shoulder, still smiling. Then he held my freezing, trembling hands in his one big palm. I could not remember the last time I had felt such one. I broke down sobbing, uncontrollably. And there we go. There's our best ending. Definitely have a lot to think about with these two, though. So, Alicia may have just found herself a savior in the man who eventually becomes Carlos's boss. Well, boss's boss. And Spottie... The main thing with Spottie is that we learned Park Sang-gun... What Park Sang-gun has been telling us is different from what Spottie, who would really have no reason to care, has heard. Seems like his dad really does care about him. His dad also has like a poor sense of money, since he thinks 1,000,000 won is enough to do anything. Sorry, not in today's capitalist society. But at least we've gotten their best endings. And it looks like we've got another letter from Alicia coming up next time. But we still have no clue who our new friend is. So I think next time, we're gonna take a look at that. For now, have a great night. And remember, you can't win a staring match against a cat. You just can't.